So standard control box. So you can see that it's just a very generic control, just metal housing. Can mount off the very back with bolts. From there, the initial hookups for it are on the side. So they simply come out of the side here, and it starts out white is ground. So white is always ground and red is always 12 volt power. Now, one thing that we do request is that power and ground go directly back to battery. And with our controls, you'll see that there's a pattern that everything will always go back directly to battery. So yes, it is something you have to remember to turn on and off, but it's also going to allow us to have for sure grounding and true power. So white is ground and red is power. From there, there's a fuse that's on the side. It's a 30 amp fuse, just a standard glass style automotive fuse. And then if we've noted, there's one more wire. So that blue wire can actually be utilized to power an auxiliary device. So external liquid cart, or activating a seed clutch or anhydrous, or link into a work switch and actually work backwards. So I'll run through how it actually gets its power and what it's operating. So initially what we're looking at is we have A, which is the main power switch. That main power switch simply powers up the other 4 switches. So when you turn it on, it'll light up green and it'll power up the other 4 switches. From there, it gives us our actual wing fold options, which is main wing and outer wing. And from there, this control box is set up to be a CT, which I'll brief through here in a moment. What we want to notice is that every red switch is momentary, so it's a press and hold. So we always unfold main wings and then outer wings second. The next switch beside it is the opener, or sorry, the smart hitch on off. It's simply an on-off switch, and what it's doing is turning on the smart hitch. And as we go through the drill functions later on, that'll make more sense of what it's actually doing. So just knowing this manual switch box, it's simply an on-off switch for the actual opener pressure, or sorry, smart hitch. So the next switch beside it is opener pressure increase, decrease. So again, it's a press and hold. So it's a toggle momentary. And when you toggle it up, it increases the pressure. You toggle it down, it decreases the pressure. And of course, it will only have its functionality when you turn on the opener pressure. So you have to actually operate the drill with opener pressure. Opener pressure is a switch that's going to be operated all the time in the field, so it will be on. So when you put the openers down and you're in the seating mode, you always have the opener pressure switch on. When you go into a headland, you have to shut the opener pressure switch off, and then you can lift the openers. It's supplying a continuous top-up flow of oil to the openers to give you a continuous pressure, which then you can utilize the increase or decrease to actually adjust that shank down pressure. So when we turn that actual opener pressure switch on, it supplies 12 volt power to this blue wire. So in a sense, it's being operated like a meter switch. So it will turn on 12 volt power and supply it to this blue wire, which will then, you can link it in to activate an auxiliary device, or the other one I already mentioned, you can actually reverse that power. So if you had a master work switch or a console switch, you could, with this style of control box only, put power from that work switch or master switch to this blue wire, and then at that point leave this switch off, and whenever your work switch is active, it will power up the blue wire, and this light will actually light green, showing you that it has powered up the actual opener pressure. So with this style, you can put power in or get power from. So any questions with that? This is just your baseline control box, which is, again, would have operated from basically this style right from the beginning through till 2012 with toolbars with no options. So pretty basic in how it operates. The main thing to remember, white is ground, red is power, 30 amp fuse in the control box. The master switch has to be on to power the other switches, and then from there, when you're in the field operation, you always operate with the actual opener pressure on. The connections that it has on the actual end of the harness are all just standard Waytech plugs. With those style of connections, we always want to make sure that you have clean connections. And the other one to remember is that because we do go back to battery for ground, we're actually utilizing the cabling to put ground all the way back from the machine through the harnessing right back to battery. So all the white wires that come through the harness are ground. So that's also why you want to make sure you have clean connections when you hook up, and to make sure you have true ground. So